Thanks, Beck. Thank you for your service and good evening or good morning, everyone. My name is James, and I'm an alcoholic addict, and I live in Amarillo, Texas. And today is day 1124 um, since my last reoccurrence with alcohol and DOC. I I'm from Amarillo. I'm from the what we call the Barrio neighborhood, and I come from a very traditional Catholic Hispanic family. Um, I'm very proud of that. Um, our family was probably one of the first families that settled in Amarillo. Just a little bit of history. The Barrio neighborhood is actually older than Amarillo itself. So a little bit of history there. Not many people in Amarillo know that, but it is a known fact. Um, my story of recovery is a complicated one, but at the end of the day, I'm still continuing to grow. Um, October 4th, 2020, I lost my father to COVID. It was during one of the height of the COVID pandemic. Amarillo was one of the experiencing record numbers of COVID related deaths, and my father was part of that group that Amarillo lost back in 2020. I found out about his death 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. My sister called me and just said, "Dad's dead." I heard her in tears. I, however, was under the influence of alcohol and substances that, I really couldn't really come to grasp of the situation. So, um, but let me back up just a little bit. So I started drinking back. I'm going to give you a little bit of a trigger. I'm going to give everybody a trigger warning here. Um, I started drinking back in 2020, excuse me, 2002. I was a senior in high school. I attended high school in New Mexico. We moved around growing up. We lived in Amarillo. We lived in Waco, back in Amarillo and Roswell, New Mexico, and settled in a small community in southeastern New Mexico called Hobbs. Oil country, very conservative. Um, yeah, it was very interesting growing up there. I'll say I did make some friends there, and I still have some friends that live in Hobbs, and those that have left Hobbs, I still remain in contact with some to this day. But um, I started drinking while I was a senior in high school. Some guys invited me to. I was sacking groceries at a local thriftway, and it was New Year's Eve, and we were about to shut down. Two guys from school. I knew them just because they were in the marching band, and they walk in and they say, "Hey, James, you know, we're gonna get together at homeboy's house, and nobody's gonna be there, no parents." And it was gonna snow that night, and I was like, "Sure, I'll go. I'll find a way." My mom and dad never really I wasn't really one to go out, go party with friends. I um didn't really encounter that until the evening of New Year's Eve. So I ended up going over to the guy's house, and they had a bottle, and I everybody started taking shots. I don't remember quite the drinking game. It was either quarters or something. Um, and you know, I everybody, the guys, it was me and four guys. And, you know, we were smashed. How was I going to get home? So I called my parents. I said, "Hey, I'm just going to spend the night here at the guy's house. Is that okay?" Of course, I got away with it. You know, I was able to stay home. Plus, it was snowing that night, and the guys lived out a little east of town, so it's just best I stay out there. Well, you know, I took three shots. The other guys were hammered. They took more than 5 to 10. So I spent most of the night taking care of them until one of the sisters came home, and we spent the night taking care of the other guys. And so that was my first encounter with alcohol. And, you know, I, drank throughout college, and I dropped out of college. And when I was 21, um, I just figured, was already in debt. I was hanging around with the sister of the guys that I'm talking about for quite some time, and we had a falling out. She was my best friend, but yet, she liked to party, and it wasn't really my cup of tea. At the time, it was, but it was hard to keep up sometime, and she liked to go all nighters, and I was ready to go to home, ready to go to sleep. I was ready to go to work the next day, or go to class. Uh, I think that led to a decline in my grades, and caused me to drop out at such a young age. I then started working in the drug and alcohol testing business and conducting random UAs, collecting random UAs in the oil fields of southeast New Mexico and West Texas, what they call the Permian Basin region. So I was doing that while um, battling an addiction of alcohol and drugs, at least until um, my 30s, when it escalated into other drugs and more alcohol. I had a relationship from around 2014 until 2020. He was discreet. Um, at the time, we had a great relationship at the beginning, but I think my addiction is what really took its toll. Um, he left me days after we buried my father in 2020, and I went into recovery because I had said that, hey, I'll get help. Let me do it. Give me the chance. I promise I won't fail. If I'm determined to do something, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I reached out to a counselor. Of course, I live here in Amarillo, Texas. So I'm like, okay, who am I going to reach out to? So I found a counselor who was also a member of the LGBT community and was pretty well known. And she guided me to attend a local AA meeting. Was also another guy that I knew just from uh, Pride celebrations here in Amarillo, and he was also in recovery, and she kind of referred me to him, and we met at AA here in Amarillo, and I won't forget it was a Monday night. She says, "I think you'll get along with him," and I'm like, "Okay, great, let's do it." So I uh, I I went to the meeting. It was just me and him. As a reminder, it was during the pandemic in Amarillo, so nobody was out. Everybody was doing virtual meetings like tonight. Um, so he says, let's open with the prayer. And I had already, I was already just lost my father. I was already coping with it on my own, me being a secular person, my father being a Catholic and coming from a Catholic family. Um, And I was honest with them. I was like, if I, I'm gonna be completely honest. If I'm gonna be honest with myself, I'm gonna tell them, I don't really pray. Well, of course, he thought it was still a good idea, so of course I bowed my head and held his hand. Out of respect, I joined family in prayer during holidays, or sometimes I think I culturally feel Catholic in a way because I still participate with holidays with the family. But anyways, continuing on with the first AA meeting, um, I was honest with them, and he referred me to a sponsor. I was introduced to the Big Book, and I was trying to explain to the sponsor about my life. He was an older white gentleman, nice guy. I'm not gonna say he wasn't a nice guy, but me coming from the barrio neighborhood and being openly gay and also being secular, not believing in God, um, was going to be a little bit of an issue. And I didn't want to offend him. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want it to be awkward. Um, what was I going to do? So I kept in touch with him for a little while. And of course, he'd send me Bible scriptures every morning. Uh, of course, at the end of the day, I ended up blocking his number. Well, months later, I had a relapse or a reoccurrence as I use in some of the other recovery meetings I do attend on Zoom. Um, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go back to AA. I just blocked the guy months ago. So I looked it up. Can atheists be a part of Alcoholics Anonymous? Just a simple Google search. That's all it was. Well, the answer was yes. I found a spreadsheet of meetings and I was like, wow, of course, this was the pandemic. So there was such a variety to choose from. Uh, I found a meeting called the Young People Secular Meeting. And I attended that for uh, months, was able to work my steps, was introduced to other meetings, such as this meeting back in 2021. A few other meetings from Toronto. I was also attending a secular AA meeting in San Antonio, Austin, just so many cities to choose from. I met all kinds of people and, realized that, you can be a part of Alcoholics Anonymous and not need to have a system of belief as a prerequisite to sobriety. Um, so I I continued that for quite some time until my most recent reoccurrence, which was September 13th of 2021. And I ended up making some enemies. Sponsor got upset. Uh, I ended up just hiding. I got into some trouble, legal trouble with the ex. Um, I was wearing an ankle monitor for 10 months. I was having to drive from Amarillo to community north of Amarillo every week before work. Yeah, it was starting to take its toll on me. Um, so I started working the program just by myself. I started using the Staying Sober Without God, the Jeffrey Munn version. And the workbook is how I've really gone through the steps without a sponsor and how I've been able to stay sober. Uh, I have other recovery circles that I'm a part of online. I attend meetings daily. A very I'm very lucky to be a part of a. I have a very supportive recovery circle online. Talk to them every day, and we're quite we keep in touch with each other. And there are a few of them have popped onto this meeting tonight for support, and I appreciate that. Um, and but they've given me the influence, just the conversations we have, the influence to attend my local Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Amarillo, which we're lucky we have. So I attended the very first meeting or very first service a few months ago and developed a very it's a very progressive congregation. So the topic had come up, what would you like to do? Well, we're having a meeting with the social committee, and I said I would like to start a secular AA meeting. I think that would be great. I've seen the formats online, or not the format, excuse me. I've attended the meetings online. I love the format that they adopt with per their group conscience. Um, I see other cities throughout Texas doing it, San Antonio, Austin, having these in-person AA meetings. Um, I think that would be something great that we can bring here to the fellowship. So we got the okay. Um, and it's been a complicated process. uh, we're we got the it's not really no red tape to start an AA meeting. You got a couple of people with the desire to stop drinking. You got a meeting. So luckily, the Amarillo Universalist, excuse me, the Amarillo Unitarian Universalist Fellowship is a very open and affirming congregation in Amarillo, accepts one of the biggest supporters of the LGBT community. It is more of a humanist congregation. Um, so we had to attend, myself and another member of the UU attended a district AA meeting here in Amarillo to discuss bringing our meeting to the district. Well, the first question we got was, "What's a secular meeting?" They had no idea. I'm introducing our meeting idea at a district meeting. And don't get me wrong, these people were nice. They were welcoming to it. We walked in the door, we sat down. Of course, they had food. Of course, we missed the potluck at the UU, so it's like, hey, let's grab some food. So we started having some conversations, and first, it was seemed pretty. I guess the word I'm looking for is it seemed pretty calm at first. I guess they were just excited, or not excited, but anticipating what's this new meeting what's a secular meeting. So I went to the podium, introduced myself, introduced how I've maintained my sobriety over the past 3 years. And I've done everything online. I worked my steps. I worked with sponsors online. Um, so I brought this idea. um, our secular AA meeting will start this Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Amarillo Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. It's the first secular meeting that's going to be LGBT inclusive for the Texas Panhandle. I've already gotten some backlash for this. I was invited to a big book meeting on Sunday after our district meeting. I thought I was gonna. I, I thought I was invited because for support. The gentleman that was chairing the meeting didn't have that in mind. Instead, he criticized my speech that I gave at the district meeting. He said that secular and LGBT meetings exclude other people. I reminded him that it's not true. I reminded him that I was excluded once because I don't bow my head to say the Lord's Prayer at the end of every meeting. I wanted I wanted a practical solution to my recovery, not a religious one. I walked out of the sanctuary. Of course, it was at a Presbyterian church in Amarillo, the big book study meeting. Um, but also to remind you, it was a young person's meeting, which is also a special purpose group. And, his meeting too was also classified as that. So I walked out, walked back in. I tried to make amends. He wasn't having it. He told me all groups are autonomous. I'm like, yes. So I think uh, I think the idea of taking the word God out of an AA meeting terrifies people here in Amarillo. Um, but I'm not letting that stop me. I did go back into the room to try to make amends. He wasn't having it. I walked out and I haven't heard anything else. I'm excited to start this meeting. Getting positive feedback. Talk to people with nonprofits in Amarillo, left pamphlets throughout town. Also at the pavilion, the behavioral center at the Northwest Texas Hospital here in Amarillo. Uh, Worked with other congregations that are open and affirming. We're not excluding people of belief. Uh, we've actually gotten positive responses from uh, Episcopal Church here in Amarillo, Presbyterian Church, and a Methodist Church, as well as the MCC, the Metropolitan Community Church, which is the LGBT church here in Amarillo. So, um, yeah, I'm excited for this, and this is going to be something new for me. It's going to be something new for Amarillo. It's going to be something even new for the congregation, the UU that I attend. And I hope it works out. And my goal is this is part of my recovery. And the only way I can protect my recovery is by participating and doing service work and coming to meetings and even staying up late tonight and sharing my story with you. So with that, I will pass. Thank you for allowing me to share tonight.